Now, the Nephilim and their legends can be seen throughout various cultures and continents throughout history. Most of these stories or historical records have been lost over time and sometimes have been transitioned into myths and fairy tales just simply due to the culture and the way that stories are often passed down. The Nephilim, born of the fallen angels and the daughters of man, was very controversial during the early church history, and much of it had been destroyed or changed due to the political agenda of the church during the 4th century. Because of some of the monks that were taking vows of celibacy, they changed some of the doctrines and said that these sons of God were in fact not angels, they were in fact humans, the lines of Seth that had, I guess, disobeyed. And as we find today with the intersecting historical records that we have, the Nephilim did in fact exist. We've had different artifacts, preserved temples with giant boulders and remains found in them. Some of the stranger things we hear in different cultures is that these Nephilim, they traveled across different lands and preceded other cultures or native people in North America. And even in Europe, they occupied large land masses. And some of the most interesting records we have are from Roman battles, ancient battles that occurred in the landscape during these ancient times. And one of those battles in particular that started a huge, long war, or the Roman Empire against the Senone giants. During about 387 BC, around that period of time, Senone giants, which were basically another tribe of Celtic peoples, were occupying an area around the Adriatic coast. And so that area and their population was growing too rapidly. So what happened is their chieftain, which was Brennus, they had decided to, I guess, cross over the Apennines. During this time, the Gallic giants flooded into northern Italy and attacked the Etruscan towns, ravaging the people ran, and the Clusians as well. The Clusians then sent for aid by Rome, who were their ancient enemy. And as a result, this showed the gravity of the situation. They would rather turn to one of their old enemies than, I guess, anyone else or try to survive. So the giants were terrifying to these people, and they were huge in size and stature, and their battle tactics were just basically raging and scary. The Roman delegation then sent out 3 Fabians of the Fabian family to basically intercede in this battle against the Senones and the Clusians. Upon their arrival, they got into a quarrel with the Senones, and the Roman, one of the Romans, Quintus Fabius, slayed the chieftain. Now the Celtics were outraged by this because the Romans were supposed to be an intermediary in this resolution, and as a result they basically raised a furor in their groups to command the whole army. Livy, a Roman general who wrote about it, basically said that the giants basically rose up in rage and elected one of their leaders to be the Führer. Now at that time they decided to march on Rome to destroy it, and so they began their journey, and they were meted at the Allia, the Battle of Allia, which was a huge battle against the Romans and the Senones. Now the Senones basically decimated the Romans, who had an army twice their size. There was about 24,000 warriors on the Roman side, and on the Gaul side there was about 12,000 warriors, and they basically destroyed the Roman soldiers. They began to now march on the capital hill of Rome. All of the people had fled except for a group of soldiers, I think maybe about 100 soldiers, and there was led by a young soldier named Marcus Manlius, who took a stand against these giants. Eventually it led back to the hill of the capital, and used the advantage of the hill to fight against the giants. And it said that the giants basically would fall and tumble back down, and there would be there was a pile of bodies and swords that lay at the bottom of the hill. Eventually the Senones would retreat after famine and disease struck their people. They made a truce with Rome, not after Rome had given all of its remaining riches to the Senones to get them to leave. This defeat of Rome was their lowest point. Rome was sacked and destroyed at that point in time, and the reform and the recovery period was long and hard. But as a result, the Romans would have a second battle with the Senones. The second battle against the Nephilim and Rome would be the Battle of Aquae Sextiae and Versailles. Gaius Marius Caesar was a Roman general and statesman who now eventually would, in about 157 BC to 86 BC, during his career or his time in the Senate, he also did reforms in the way that the Roman army was set up, their training, and the way that they fought. He basically took these legions of Roman soldiers and taught them another style of fighting, and he specifically designed this Roman military based off of the things that Rome had previously learned from the giants. The Battle of Aquae Sextiae was basically fought against the Cimbrians, or basically other Celtic tribes, the Teutones. During this time, the Teutones were migrating throughout northern Europe into the Roman territories, and they clashed with Rome and other allies. The Cimbrian War was probably the first time since the Second Punic War that Italy and Rome basically fought or were seriously threatened. The timing of the war had great impact during this time. There was a lot of politics going on. There was a lot of organization in the military, and this war greatly contributed to Gaius Marius's career and the things that would later come. As the Cimbrians, or Cimmerians, also known as in the Teutonic giants, began to migrating towards Roman soil, they dispatched about 80,000 troops, probably one of the biggest forces that Rome had ever had sent out for war, and sent them off to, I guess, meet the giants. As a result of differences, the two Roman generals led their armies separately, and both were annihilated. The first group was basically overconfident. They foolishly attacked and basically were wiped out. Then eventually their camp was defeated, and later on, when the second group of soldiers fought, they basically were desolated as well. After the triumph, they eventually decided to go to Spain instead of march on Rome, but it was during this time, it was their opportune period where if they had attacked Rome, they would have won. Before this time, the Roman military fought in a phalanx setup. Now after Gaius Marius was elected, I guess, into power to oversee the military training, he took over and basically turned these groups into a elite special fighting force. Now here's a portion of the battles and the history behind the Cimbrian War from Genesis 6 Giants. Following the devastation of the Recio, fear shook the Roman Empire to its foundations. The terror Cimbricus became a watchword, as Rome expected the Cimbri at its gates at any time. In this atmosphere of panic and desperation, an emergency was declared. The constitution was ignored, and Gaius Marius, the victor over Jugurtha and Numidia, was elected consul for an unprecedented and arguably illegal 5 years in a row, starting in 104 BC. Because of the destruction of the Roman force at Dyrrhachium and the pressure of the impending crisis, Marius was now given the latitude to construct a new army on his own terms. Until now, the army had been a well-trained and well-regulated militia of all able-bodied, land-owning male citizens. Marius replaced this with the professional standing force composed mostly of able-bodied but landless volunteers. He improved and standardized training, weapons, armor, equipment, and command structure, and made the cohort the main tactical and administrative unit of the legion. Along with these new arrangements came new standards and symbols such as the aquila, which the troops came to revere and which was never allowed to fall into enemy hands. While the panicked Senate and people of Rome gave Marius the power he needed to build his army, The failure of the Cimbri and Teutones to follow up on their victory gave him the time he needed to finish it. They would soon be confronted by an army of organized, highly trained professional soldiers under the leadership of a brilliant and ruthless commander. By 102 BC, Marius was ready to move against the Teutones. He chose his ground carefully and built a well-fortified camp on top of a hill near Aquae Sextiae, where he lured the Teutones and their allies, the Ambrones, into attacking him. During their attack, they were ambushed from the rear by a select force of 5 cohorts, which Marius had hidden in a nearby wood. The Teutones were routed and massacred, and their king, Teutobod, was placed in Roman chains. But Aquae Sextiae had only evened the score. While the Teutones had been eliminated, the Cimbri remained a formidable threat. In 101 BC, the Cimbri returned to Gaul and prepared for the final stage of their struggle with Rome. For the first time, they penetrated through the Alpine passes, which Marius' co-consul for that year, Quintus Lutatius Catulus, had failed to fortify into northern Italy. Catulus withdrew behind the Po River, leaving the countryside open to the invaders, but the Cimbri took their time ravaging the fertile region, which gave Marius time to arrive with reinforcements. His same victorious legions from Aquae Sextiae, it would be at Versailles near the confluence of the Sesia River and the Po on the Radian plain, where the superiority of the new Roman legions and their cavalry were clearly demonstrated.